So, Urvi, welcome to my podcast. And how's universe treating you?
Well, apparently, I'm being a medical student. It's
Mhm.
really hectic. So I have exams coming recently, but then I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. Uh, I just initially I felt like when you reached out to me, I felt like I'm not being so competent enough to as a guest on a podcast. But then I thought, let's not deny an opportunity. So yeah, here I am.
Okay. And I'm assuming that this is your first time doing this kind of
Yes,
thing.
yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
thank you so much for calling me, for having me here. And I'm really glad I got this, you know.
Then I approach you because your profile is, to be honest, it's quite intriguing. You are wearing multiple hats. You are a podcaster, you are a medical student, and on top of that, you are a blogger as well, right? There's three things
Yeah.
you are currently doing. So take us through it. Like, what sort of things do you do as a podcaster and as a blogger?
So recently I've not been really active as a blogger, to be honest. I am trying to build up my new podcast, which is Decoding with Urvi. It's available on Spotify. It's about exploring human psychology, the intellectual side of the human psychology, and how we see things, how we perceive things, the different POVs that we have about so many philosophies and very evidence-based, research-based stuff that I bring. Meaningful and insightful stories, experiments that have been done regarding the human psychology. So, yeah, that is what we are more into. We're diving into all of those sort of intellectual stuff.
Wow.
And on top of that, I'm also trying to restart again on Medium. So I'm currently working on that. So I have few blogs coming up very soon. And as a medical student, of course, it's always feels a lot on your plate. Not at all a cakewalk. Right now, I was just wondering where to shoot the podcast because there's I'm in a new college apparently, and there's everywhere construction going on. So
Oh,
I was like, I need to find a spot first of all. So I'm in the campus apparently. I just got over with my village postings today. And yeah, pretty much.
wow. Yeah, I'm still processing because I have a cousin and she's also in this field, medical field, and she goes through a lot of things. Like she has, she's always stressful because I'm not sure, but it's like you guys have to go through a lot of things, and like apparently she was telling me that she has like even that thing ragging, that thing is still there in medical fields, especially. So I'm not sure whether you have to go through this or not, but she suffers a lot.
Yeah, in my campus, in my college, actually, there's not of a ragging culture. We don't even have like an intro session. We just kind of have a very healthy relationships with our
Oh,
juniors and seniors. But most of it is like we tend to not get involved into such things because the authorities are like really particular about these things. So
nice.
ragging is not a thing in my college. Yeah. But it's like a double-edged sword. So it also is like even if you try to, give your intro to the senior or junior, it's mostly like someone might take it the otherwise. It's like they
Hmm.
might think as well that they are being dragged. So we sometimes are scared to even, interact with them normally. So
Hmm.
that is also a thing about, yeah. So we
Wow.
don't have that deep connections with our juniors. Actually, here in college, we are the first batch. So I'm a super senior over here. We don't have seniors. We have juniors, and with juniors, I'm very close with most of my juniors. But it's just that I'm more of an extrovert person, so it's easy for me to start a conversation with someone. But for people who might need help, it might be tough because here the interactions are not much.
Yeah, makes sense. Wow. And I'm sure you are a like extroverted person because you are a podcaster. So I guess being a podcaster, we have to be, kind of like talkative chatterbox. And
Yeah,
uh,
sure.
yeah, what kind of podcast do you do? Like you mentioned that into psychology and all. So can you take us more into that?
Yeah. So basically, as the name itself suggests, decoding with Urdu, we're trying to decode the many aspects of our life. Particularly, I believe in the fact that intellectually, when you learn things about yourself, about how your mind works, how it perceives things, and how you can change so many of the things in your life, so many aspects of your life, it's very multifaceted. So it is like you have to first understand how things work so that you can solve your life problems. And that involves a very wider vision, a very broader vision to your life. So it's not a very narrow path that you look at when you see a problem. So it's like so many options you have to look at when you see a problem in your life. And that includes a very important part is how you see your life. That is the perception, the perspective you have about someone or something or a situation, any circumstances. And that includes the very understanding of how our brain works, you know. So I had a previous podcast I used to do because of some technical issues. I have to like shut that down. It was about the similar things. Only thing that it didn't included stories and experimental stories. So that podcast, it had things like I talked about ego, what actually it means, how about fantasies, how we perceive fantasies, and what is its role, and daydreaming, all about such things,
Yeah.
and some notions and POVs that I have about, few things like how we are the people who will make a scope in a particular field, and it's not the already made, pre-made thing, and
Mm.
such topics. And the recent new podcast that I've started, this also includes the stories and experiments. So the first podcast that I've just uploaded recently, it is about the Stanford prison experiment. So yeah, it's really interesting. I recommend people to check that
Yeah,
out because
it does
the
sound
story
interesting.
is like mind-boggling.
Hmm. Wow. And speaking of ego, that reminds me of the guy, like the founder of psychology, I guess, Sigmund Freud. He gave the
Yes,
concept of
yes,
ego and superego. But
yes.
recently, I did, kind of like a study about his biology, like his biography, and I came across, like, I was flabbergasted that he was kind of like eccentric guy. He was really into, a lot of, like, he used to smoke or something. He was addicted himself. Are you familiar with that? Like he was addicted with drugs and all.
I'm not very familiar with all the biography of Sigmund Freud. I have read about the ego, id, all that concept about him, and I do have a sort of idea about how his own personal life was not so good.
Yeah.
So I do have an idea about that, but not about the thing
Yes.
you are talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what kind of thing he was addicted to, but he was, I guess, addicted to smoking or something, and that gave him the, the boost to create productive things, like in context of his field of psychology. So that thing was quite
Yes.
shocking for me, that being a
In
psychologist.
fact, the experiment that I just talked about in my recent podcast, it included the person who was, in charge of this whole experiment, the scientist Dr. Philip Zimbardo. So his own life, he has struggled a lot. He has suffered a lot, many things, racism, about his ethnicity, and all that led to this thing that he was very curious to know about human minds and what will happen if the normal person will be given power and authority. So that was so inspiring to him that it led and it pivoted to a different direction that motivated him to get into psychology, to get into research, to conduct an experiment, which was not a very successful experiment. It was kind of more like a failure, but it had like a really, really mind-boggling findings of that experiment. So yeah.
Wow. And like I'm completely naive about the medical field. I don't have much knowledge. So I'm gonna ask you a naive question. That is, I watched the film called Munaba MBBS, and I'm not sure whether you
Okay.
have watched it or not. Have you watched that film?
I'm not into so many movies and series. I have a particular genre, mystery, suspense,
Okay,
particular. Recently started watching movies, so yeah, I've not yet watched that movie.
okay. Nevertheless, like my question was, how truth was it in that movie? but let's skip that question, I guess. Uh, okay, so what do you like to do in your spare time? As you mentioned about like you cherish watching films of particular genre, like mystery and thriller. So enlighten me about that.
Yeah, so I recently completed Dark series. It was
Hmm.
really good. I'm into sci-fi, so I watched Inception. I watched 1899. A few of the psychological thriller movies. I watched Orphan, and
Nice, Orphan. That
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
horror. The one with the little girl who is not little.
yeah. 1899, Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, pretty much. These suspense,
Okay.
mystery, sci-fi, thriller.
Still, I'm not able to, perceive the story of Interstellar, like how he goes through the black hole.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's really intriguing. I know, I know. And that is so interesting because, it really questions the very reality we believe in. I mean, I recently read Dark Matter. That's a novel, and it talks about the possibilities that we don't know might exist in time, and it is beyond time and space actually. And that is so interesting. It gives you a perspective that we never know what all could be the possibilities in the universe. So it's really interesting about that.
okay. As you are into science fiction, I guess this would be the right question to ask you. Do you think that aliens exist?
Okay, about aliens. So aliens is an alien concept to me because obviously there haven't been proper research papers or anything that has concluded anything, but we have a few of the findings or traces that might suggest that there is a possibility of life on
Hmm.
other planet or maybe another universe. But I don't think for now I don't have a say about aliens as such. There might be some maybe advanced and super advanced technologies and all those things might be existing somewhere. There might be aliens, so we never know. So about fantasies and fiction concepts, I don't think so I have a say on that.
Okay.
But I do find it very fascinating and intriguing that that's there.
Hmm. All right. And now again coming back to your field of study, that is medical. So can you tell me like what exactly do you do?
So, medical student, obviously, there are theory classes, there are practical classes. We go to hospital to our postings and duties. We take the history of the patient, do the examination part. We learn a lot, many things actually, and it's really inspiring to see, the doctors who are teaching us. When we see them in the clinical setup, how the patients are so grateful of every treatment they've gotten. It's really inspiring. It just give you the drive to even if there are a lot many things that's traumatizing, that's toxic here, that might not be very healthy. We don't sometimes get our sleep. We sometimes are not able to um, have a very healthy diet. So I always struggle with because I am a very conscious in this aspect that I want to keep my diet as good as possible. So I try different things too because I'm a vegetarian here in South India. It's not very usual to see many vegetarians. So you have to complete your protein intake. And the problem with the mess food is that it's not that nice, obviously.
Yeah.
So you obviously struggle with the diet, you struggle with the sleep, but in fact, like it's like instead of all of these struggles, that gratitude when the patient you see in their eyes and you feel like okay, so it's all worth it at the end of the day.
Hmm.
But personally, for me, coming to the medical school also included research opportunities as one of the reasons. I, from the very start, am very interested and always look forward for research opportunities. And I had this thing that if I get into a medical college, I might get a head start to it in clinical research, particularly because research, I also had an interest in astrophysics, but then I changed the stream, so it just I was not able to make up there. But here, since I've come, I've gotten many opportunities, like RGHS research I've just completed. I am doing ICMR research also, so it's been going great. We do have some hurdles here and there. We have to be very mindful of how we behave because professionalism and ethics is a very important part of this profession. So we always have to maintain ourselves. And, I try to not get targeted by the professors and teachers because you never know how that's going to come back. So, yeah, pretty much.
Wow. And I'm not sure. I'm still processing all these things. I'm sure it's really a Herculean task to be a doctor. But wow, what inspired you that I want to be a doctor? What was your inspiration?
To be very honest, initially I was I'm still interested in genetic engineering, and I wanted to pursue that. But at that point of time, it was tough to convince my parents to send me abroad because there were more equipments and facilities to pursue that career. So, but I wasn't able to. So I thought of the second option. There were exams that are conducted in India, NICER and ICER. I
Hmm.
gave NICER, and but I wasn't because that was my first time without any preparation. I gave the exam. I got 75 percentile. Wasn't enough for it. So then I was like, okay, fine. I will take a drop. Let me see. And then when I thought of, okay, fine, let me give a try to the medical college, let me see, because I was very interested in clinical research, in clinical stuff, in studying all that, about the human body and everything. It always excited me. It was the very thing in science that has been constant since the childhood. There are so many subjects that I love, and it was a very confusing, like I was at dilemma at the 10th standard when I was deciding what subject to choose. But then initially, I was maybe scared for maths also, but then I developed a liking for maths. Then I was confused in science also what to go for. Then I realized that, okay, maybe all these interests might fade away afterwards, but this medicine, biology, this is something that I think is going to stay in the long run. And so I was more inclined towards it. So I finally decided to go to this. And I think medical school I saw as one of the ways that can fulfill, my satiety or hunger, what do you call, for reading all this. I might be a nerd, but yeah, I really like to get to know about all of these things.
Wow.
I'm not a very nerdy person when it comes to academics, but I do love reading about so many things and so many aspects of this subject. So yeah.
Like when it comes to the anatomy, like apart from being an English teacher, I'm also a yoga trainer. So I'm also like little bit into that. I don't know that much about the body and all, but I do like to study about anatomy, like how, like if I'm not wrong, our spine is divided into like three parts. Like you guys call it as cervicals, thoracic, and lumbar, and
And
it has,
sacral. Yeah.
yeah, 37 bones, right? 37 bones in
Yeah.
us.
So I just got to know, and I really admire you doing yoga and how you're managing podcasts and everything. I wanted to mention about that as well. I'm really intrigued by because I checked out and I saw your yoga. There was some yoga plus English, some reel I saw, and I
Okay.
was like, okay, man, this is something I really, look forward to because one of the goals that I have is when it comes to health, I'm looking at two major things right now. Obviously, there is sleep that is really important. I know that. But to be honest, my focus mainly relies on diet and my workout routine.
Yeah.
And my workout routine, I want to change from the cardio that I do and weight training to more flexible exercises. So I give Sundays to stretching, to maybe guided yoga videos.
Nice.
So I really, yeah, and I really want to achieve that level of,
Oh,
flexibility and activeness in my body that I'm able to do the calisthenics and everything.
wow.
So
So
I
you can
really
do that.
admire people who are into yoga. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Like when it comes to that, if I tell you honestly, I don't consume outside food. I don't consume aerated drinks. I don't remember when was the last time I had pizzas. So I mainly eat home cooked food. So I'm really,
Hmm.
kind of like stubborn about my diet. And that's why I guess I get the strength to perform complex yoga poses because you need to do that. You cannot do both of the things. You can consume outside food and you can do yoga. So you have to be very strict with your diet.
So just because you mentioned about it, um, I have been practicing this thing that I have quit all the processed drinks and
Hmm.
packaged foods. So we used to, binge eat all these packets of chips
Oh,
and cold
okay.
drinks. So I have been, I don't remember the last time I had that. So, and consistently, and there was this sugar cut down and calorie deficit that I maintained. And I saw a very significant difference. So I lost a lot of fat in my body and 8 kgs of weight. And that was because at that time, my mental health was not that good. So I never felt like going to work out frequently. So there was a drop in my workout activity. But surely I was totally relying on the diet aspect. And just the diet made such a significant difference in, I think it just made the difference in like say 4 months, I guess. So for
Okay.
4 months, I continued practicing this and it felt so good. Like it's so inspiring. And then you feel like, okay, if I don't get to eat it, I'm fine with it. But
Yeah.
if these are the results, I'm gonna stick with this.
Yes, makes sense. Yeah. Even when I do a complex yoga pose, like I'm still in the process of learning. I have not fully mastered the art of yoga. So I always try to learn different asanas. And yeah, whenever I do it successfully with flying colors, I feel very overwhelmed, that after, hard work, I'm able to do that. So recently I did that. I'm not sure whether you're familiar or not. Standing chakrasana. So I was able to pull that.
Okay.
Yeah, like standing wheel pose. So
That's incredible. I really look forward to, when I will be able to do so many asanas. I really look forward to that day actually. Because I tried guided yoga and in those videos, the guide will always tell you the alternative poses or asana that you can do instead of the tougher ones. So all of those points when I'm not able to do the tougher ones and I have to rely on the easier part, I'm always kind of demotivated, but then I'm like, okay, fine. This is a long process and it takes time to learn yoga. It's a very long process, a long journey. And I've seen people learning yoga throughout the years and mastering it like clean, neat, and very properly.
yeah.
So I really want to reach that level. And I'm so inspired, like when you mentioned about asanas and how you were able to perform this one asana. I just now really am more looking forward to it. So tomorrow I might just try yoga again. It's
Yeah,
Sunday
and
tomorrow. So
if
yeah,
you feel any better, if you need any sort of help, just drop me a message. I'll help you. We can also do a like this kind of online yoga class. It's all right. I'll try to help you with that.
sure. I wanted to ask you one question.
Sure.
Because you do yoga, so
Hmm.
how do you feel after doing yoga? How does it feel? Because after workout, obviously it's very tiresome. You feel very tired, your muscles are very sore, you feel cramps all over your body. But yoga, it releases this energy and it makes you feel more refreshed. So it's really a really nice feeling. But how do you see yoga as? Because yoga does not include just the asanas. It includes a change in your diet. It includes the way it's an art. It's an art
Yeah.
of living. It's a whole different subject. So yoga, how does that has affected your life? How does it changed the way you see? things you maybe used to, the habits that you had previously, and now how you see them. So how has your perspective changed throughout your yoga journey?
If I tell you honestly, if I call a spade, and I'm not exaggerating, but yoga has completely made me a different person, a person that I never thought I can be. So, like, nowadays I'm calm as cucumber. Earlier, I used to get frustrated and all those things that a human being goes through. But now I'm like, I don't really care what people think about me, or I don't give a damn about people's opinion. And this was a big part of my life, that I always used to care about people, what they would think of me or how they would perceive me. But after doing yoga, I'm always calm. I'm always like, if you tell me to do a podcast at 2 a.m., even if I'm that tired, I would still do it because of the inside energy. And yoga, like you said, it's not merely about asanas. Yeah, it's about asanas. Then we do pranayam, breathing techniques, and ultimately like meditation. So it's divided into three types. So it has changed the trajectory of my life. I've been doing it for a long time. Apart from physical benefits, the mental benefits, those are really top notch. It's hard to say in it words because it's kind of subjective, but it's really
Yeah.
effective. You do it on regular basis, it has the potential to change your life.
And even though it is subjective, we know any person who will start yoga will end up knowing the importance of it and the benefits of it. So even though it is subjective, end of the day, the facts are there, and
Yeah.
it's like anytime you can check. It's like it's a very objective thing that
Mm,
it benefits a lot. And because you mentioned about how you now don't care about the people, what they say and everything, one of the things about me is a lot, I'm actually affected by, what people think, how they perceive. I'm always very mindful, not mindful actually, over mindful, because I'm always in this thing. I'm always in the loop of of this thinking that I don't know if they will be misunderstanding what I just said, or I just hope they don't take it otherwise,
mm,
or did I just hurt them? I'll any day randomly I'll just go and I'll ask my friend, I'm like, am I annoying you? No, right? And like, why would you ask that? So I'm from the very start. I'm not saying I'm a crazy people pleaser, but I do have that in me always, and I'm always I'm very conscious about how I'm,
mm.
speaking the right word or not, or making the other person satisfied to what they were expecting from me through this conversation or not. So that is one very important thing. And because you mentioned that yoga helps in this a lot, I think I should look forward to it. And
Definitely.
also about the pranayam, I have sinusitis.
Okay.
So I think pranayam is one of the things that I feel permanently gonna help me. So
Mm.
yeah, that's actually a much needed reminder, to be very honest.
All right. All right, Urvi, I guess this Zoom meeting is compelling us to end it. So, on
Yeah,
that, it was really nice and intriguing to have a conversation with you. And I'm
yeah.
sure
Thank you so much, Janil. It
we'll
was
do
a
this
like
again.
a really refreshing conversation. I think it a much needed conversation, to be very honest. I felt heard. I felt really. I'm really glad
Wow.
you for having me here. So I thank you very much again.
Okay.
And I wish you all the very best for all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
And
You made my day.
I really admire for whatever you do, your podcast and all that. So
Definitely.
thank you very
And
much once
you are
again.
welcome. So,
Yeah, it was really intriguing, really insightful. So thank you very much.
thank you. You made my day, Urvi. And on that note, I guess let's call it a day and we'll catch up soon. Take care.
Take care. Thank you.